Real English Lounge.
The art of everyday English.
I need to ask you something.
Go ahead.
Have you ever not applied for a job because you were worried you wouldn't get it?
Oh, absolutely.
Like, you read the description, you thought I could probably do that, and then you just didn't send it.
I did this with a course once.
A course?
I wanted to apply for a writing program.
Spent 3 weeks thinking about it, wrote a draft application.
And?
Never submitted it. The deadline passed, and I told myself it probably wasn't the right time anyway.
Heh, the right time.
Which was absolutely not the reason.
The reason was?
The reason was I didn't want to find out I wasn't good enough.
Right. If you don't apply, you can't be rejected.
And you get to keep the dream intact.
Which is a very comfortable place to live.
Very comfortable.
And completely useless.
Heh. Welcome to Real English Lounge. I'm Ethan.
I'm Claire.
And today we're talking about fear of failure, why we play it safe, what it actually costs us, and what changes when you start thinking about it differently.
Before we start, subscribe on YouTube if this podcast is helping your English.
Comment challenge. Tell us one thing you've been putting off because you're worried it won't work out. In English, in the comments.
Level check. B1 to B2. Natural English for talking about everyday feelings and decisions.
Word tour words today.
Risk, failure, threshold, regret, comfort zone, and resilience. 6 words for this conversation.
Let's start with something that I think is kind of funny.
What's that?
The thing we're afraid of, failure, is actually the most common thing that happens to anyone who tries anything.
Say that again?
Every person who's ever gotten good at something failed constantly on the way there. Athletes, writers, people who started businesses, scientists.
Right.
And we know this. We've all heard it. Failure is how you learn. Failure is part of the process.
And yet.
And yet, when it's our own failure, suddenly it feels completely different.
Somehow the lesson applies to everyone else.
To everyone, just not to me specifically.
Because for everyone else, it's a learning experience.
And for me, it's evidence.
Evidence of what?
That's the question, isn't it? Evidence that I'm not capable, that I made the wrong choice, that I'm behind somehow.
That's where it gets interesting.
Because none of those things are actually what failure means.
No, but the brain doesn't always check the logic.
The brain is very fast and not always right. Here's something I noticed about myself.
When I'm afraid of failing at something, I'm usually not afraid of the practical consequences.
What do you mean?
Like, if I apply for a program and don't get in, what actually happens? I don't get in. That's it. Life continues.
Right.
But that's not what feels scary. What feels scary is what I'll think about myself.
The story you'll tell yourself.
Exactly. I applied and failed, which becomes I tried and wasn't good enough,
Which becomes I'm probably not good enough in general.
3 steps, and you've gone from one rejection letter to a personality verdict.
Hehe, very efficient.
Heh, terrifyingly efficient.
And the way to avoid that verdict is just never find out.
Don't apply, don't start, don't send it.
And then you're safe, but you're also stuck.
In the very comfortable, very useless place.
Exactly.
Can I tell you about something I did that I'm not proud of?
My favorite.
A few years ago, I had an idea for a project, something I genuinely wanted to do, and I talked about it a lot.
With who?
Everyone, friends, my partner, people I barely knew.
But you didn't start.
I didn't start for almost a year.
What was happening?
I think I was using the talking as a substitute for the doing. As long as I was talking about it, the project existed. It was alive, and I didn't have to find out if it actually worked.
Because an idea that hasn't been tested can't fail.
An idea in your head is always perfect.
The moment you start, it becomes real.
And real things are imperfect.
And I wasn't ready for an imperfect version.
What changed?
Honestly, a friend said, "You've been talking about this for a year. Are you gonna do it or not?"
Just like that?
Just like that. And something about hearing it said out loud directly made me realize I was choosing the comfortable version over the real one.
And did you do it?
I did, and it was imperfect, and it was fine.
As most things are.
As most things are.
I think one of the most useful things you can do with fear of failure is just make the failure smaller.
What do you mean?
When we imagine failing, we usually imagine the maximum version, the embarrassing, public, total, everyone saw it version.
Right. Nobody imagines a small, quiet failure.
But most actual failures are small and quiet. Someone doesn't respond to your email. A project doesn't go the way you planned. You get a rejection that nobody but you knows about. about.
And the world continues.
And the world continues. So one thing that helps, before I avoid something, I ask, what does the realistic version of failure actually look like here?
Not the catastrophic version.
Not the catastrophic version, just what would probably happen. And usually when I write that out, it's much more manageable than what my brain had been showing me.
The brain's version has an audience and a soundtrack.
Always. The realistic version is just an uncomfortable afternoon.
Which most people can survive.
Most people survive uncomfortable afternoons quite well.
The other thing that's helped me is thinking about regret differently.
How do you mean?
There's this idea, I think it comes from research on people later in life, that people regret the things they didn't do far more than the things they did.
The risks they didn't take.
Right. You try something and it doesn't work. That stings. But you can usually make peace with it. You tried. You learned something.
But the thing you never tried?
The thing you never tried stays unresolved. You never get to find out. And that question, what if I'd done it? That one doesn't go away.
Because there's no answer.
No answer. Just the question, sitting there.
The risk you didn't take is the one you'll regret.
That's it.
Which doesn't mean take every risk, but it does mean the discomfort of trying is usually much smaller than the discomfort of never knowing.
And you can survive the trying.
You've survived everything so far. The odds are pretty good.
Statistically very strong.
Time for the word tour. 6 words from today.
Definition, natural example, mini dialogue, and an upgrade phrase. Word 1. Risk. R-I-S-K. Noun and verb.
A risk is a possibility of something going wrong, or the act of doing something despite that possibility. Taking a risk doesn't mean being reckless. It means deciding the potential upside is worth the possible downside.
Example. She'd spent years avoiding any job that felt uncertain. When she finally took a risk and applied for something she wasn't sure she'd get, she got it and realized the risk had always been smaller than her version of it.
Mini dialogue. Are you nervous about applying?
A little, but I've decided the risk of not applying is bigger than the risk of being rejected.
That's a really healthy way to think about it.
Upgrade phrase. Instead of I'm scared to try I'm weighing the risk. And I've realized the risk of not doing it is actually larger than the risk of doing it badly. Word 2. Failure. F-A-I-L-U-R-E. Noun.
Failure is when something doesn't go the way you intended. It's not the opposite of success. It's part of the process toward it. The version of failure we imagine is usually much larger than the version that actually happens.
Example. His first attempt was a failure by any measure, but it taught him exactly what wasn't working, and that information was worth more than a smooth first try would have been.
Mini dialogue. What if it doesn't work?
What's the realistic version of that? Not the catastrophic version, the actual one.
Probably an awkward conversation and a few days of feeling disappointed.
Which is survivable.
Very survivable.
Upgrade phrase. Instead of I'm afraid to fail, try I'm trying to get more specific about what failure would actually look like here. When I do that, it's usually much smaller than what I'd been imagining. Word 3. Threshold. T-H-R-E-S-H-O-L-D. Noun.
A threshold is a point you have to cross to move from one state to another. In the context of fear, the threshold is that moment just before you start. The hardest part. Once you're past the threshold, the fear usually drops significantly.
Example. Starting was always the hardest part for her. Once she'd passed the threshold, sent the message, submitted the application, opened the document, the anxiety dropped almost immediately. The threshold was where the fear lived.
Mini dialogue. I keep meaning to start, but I can never quite get going.
The threshold thing is real. The starting is the hardest part. Once you're past it, your brain adjusts.
So the goal isn't to feel ready. It's just to cross the line.
You don't have to feel ready. You just have to start.
Upgrade phrase. Instead of I'll start when I feel ready, try. I'm trying to understand that readiness usually comes after crossing the threshold, not before. The fear is loudest right before you begin.
Word 4. Regret. R-E-G-R-E-T. Noun.
Regret is the feeling that you made the wrong choice, especially one you can't undo. Research on regret consistently shows that people regret inaction more than action. The things we didn't try stay with us longer than the things we tried and got wrong.
Example. She didn't regret the job she'd left, even though it had been difficult. What she regretted was the 3 years before that, when she'd stayed because she was afraid of what would happen if she left.
Mini dialogue. Do you regret trying?
Not really. Even the things that didn't work, I at least know. It's the things I didn't try that stay with me.
The unanswered questions.
Those are the ones that don't go away.
Upgrade phrase. Instead of I'm afraid of making a mistake, try I'm trying to think about which regret would be harder to live with. The regret of trying and failing, or the regret of never finding out.
Word Word 5, comfort zone. 2 words, but always used together. Noun phrase.
Your comfort zone is the range of situations where you feel safe, in control, and not particularly challenged. Being in it isn't bad, but staying in it exclusively means nothing new gets in. Growth tends to happen just outside it.
Example, he realized his comfort zone had been shrinking for years, not through any single decision, but through hundreds of small choices to avoid anything uncertain. By the time he noticed, it had become quite small.
Mini dialogue. I know it's outside my comfort zone, but
Is that a reason not to do it, or just information about where the growing happens?
just information.
Right.
Upgrade phrase. Instead of, I'm not comfortable with that, try, I'm aware this is outside my comfort zone, which is actually useful information. It means there's something to learn here that I can't learn by staying where I am.
Last word, resilience. RESILIENCE, noun.
Resilience is the ability to recover from difficulties, to bend without breaking, and find your way back after something goes wrong. It's not about never failing. It's about what you do after you fail.
Example, what impressed people about her wasn't that she never failed. She failed often. What impressed them was how quickly she treated each failure as information and moved forward. That was her resilience.
Mini dialogue. How do you deal with things not working out?
I try to ask what I learned, even from the things that were clearly just bad luck. Keeps me from just feeling sorry for myself.
Which is a very efficient use of a failure.
Recycle everything.
Upgrade phrase. Instead of, I'm bad at dealing with failure, try, I'm working on my resilience, on treating what doesn't work as information rather than verdict, and on getting back to trying a little faster each time. That's the word tour. Risk, failure, threshold, regret, comfort zone, resilience.
6 words for the conversation you have with yourself right before you do something that matters.
Let's close. We talked about why we play it safe and how the failure we imagine is almost always bigger than the one that actually happens.
We talked about the talking as substitute, how keeping something as an idea feels safer than making it real.
And about the regret question. Which type of not knowing is harder to live with?
The risk you didn't take is the one you'll regret.
Question of the week. What's one thing you've been putting off because you're worried it won't work out? In English, one sentence in the comments.
If this helped your English today, subscribe, give it a like, and share it with someone who has a very good idea that's been living exclusively in their head.
I'm Claire.
I'm Ethan. The uncomfortable afternoon is survivable, I promise.
Real English Lounge. See you next time.
Your English journey doesn't end here.
Keep listening, keep learning, and keep speaking.
Choose your next conversation.
We'll see you in the next episode of Real English Lounge.